Hi everyone, GM. So nice to see so many of you join. Welcome to the Scaling Web3 Hackathon launch. So exciting to see so many people in the audience. Please say hi in the chat. Let us know, what you're up to. Let us know where you're based. Let us know what you're thinking of building for this hackathon, all that good stuff. We'd love to engage with you guys through there. I see loads of people saying hi now, so super fun. Really nice to see you all. I'm going to get straight into it and just kick this hackathon off. Cool. So hello, my name is Clara. I'm your program manager for the Scaling Web3 Hackathon. This basically means that I am your go-to person, your number one friend and handholder throughout this event. Anything that you need, please do let me know. Happy to help. So whether that's via email, Discord, or Twitter, wherever is easiest for you, any questions you have, send them my way and I will try my best to help you out. Yes, this QR code is a shameless plug to my Twitter, so do go ahead and give me a follow there if you want to connect on there as well. A little bit about Encode Club for those of you who are joining us as your first Encode Club event. Nice to see you all join, if that is it. And for those of you who have done our programs before, you will know all of this information very well, but I'm just going to run over it very quickly just in case. We are Encode Club. We are an educational company for emerging tech. So that includes Web3 and AI. And what we do is we help talented developers learn, build, and forge their career path. So we run a bunch of educate series, boot camps, accelerators, and hackathons, obviously. You all know that. We also do recruitment. So if you are looking for a job, or ready to kind of take that next step in your career, then we can help with that as well. But we have a large community of Web2 and Web3 developers and run a bunch of different free educational programs for them. So if this is your kind of first point of contact with us, welcome to the community. And do please let us know if there are any questions about any of our programs that we're running. A bit more specifically about the Scaling Web3 Hackathon. So it is going to be 4 weeks running. It's going to be centered around experimenting, innovating, and just doing a bunch of cool stuff, all centered around scalability solutions. So here you can really let your imagination run wild. There's so many different ways that you can interpret this topic and this theme. Please do let me know in the chat if you already have some ideas of how you're going to interpret the theme, what you're going to build. But we will also be hearing from all of our sponsors introducing their bounties. So I'm sure you'll get some inspiration from there as well very shortly. So speaking of sponsors, we have them all presented here. So for this hackathon, we are joined by the amazing Shardium, Orderly Network, Etherlink, IPC, and Gateway FM. So thank you all to our sponsors for making this hackathon possible and for providing you guys with some really cool prizes and cool challenges to get you going. We are now going to invite my colleague Yasin to the stage, who will just be sharing some words of encouragement and just saying hi to everyone here. So as we're waiting, here he is now. Hi Yasin, how are you?
Very nice. Very excited to have you all here. I just want to quickly share a couple of words from our side. As always, extremely excited to be kicking off another interesting program. We have so many interesting parties involved, and I can see so many people coming in from our boot camps as well. We've recently finishing our expert solidity and ZK boot camps as well. So I know there's a lot of people, really, really smart people coming in and trying to impress. Some of them, trying to perform in their very first hackathon. So for all of you that have not done a hackathon before, all of you that are participating in yet another one, do make sure to step out of your comfort zone. Make sure to say hi. Make sure to start some new friendships, and who knows, you might even be meeting your next or new co-founder among the people that you end up working with. There's a lot of interesting bounties that are coming up. There's a lot of things that you can be building. We do encourage people to build for as many as they can. You're allowed to submit for multiple different bounties, so trying things energetically, trying to build a product or a project for multiple bounties at the same time, and you might as well even win some of our amazing prizes. And I must say, we have some really exciting prizes which you will be hearing about really, really soon. So yeah, without further ado, we can switch on to our next part of the presentation and involve all the sponsors to present their bounties as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Yasin. Yes, we are now going to go a bit more into detail about what will happen during the upcoming 4 weeks. The first thing that you need to do, obviously, is register for the hackathon unless you have already. So I'm going to be sending the link to the website in the chat, and you can go directly on there and read more about it, but also register directly on there. It only takes a few minutes, and that ensures that you're kind of up to date with all the resources. You'll have access to the Hacker Pack, where basically all the important information that you need to know is in the Hacker Pack. So the workshop recordings, all the important dates, the deadlines, FAQs, all that sort of stuff. So make sure to register to have easy access to that and just to make this hackathon experience more seamless. The second thing you need to do, if you want to, is form a team. Now, very common question, you don't have to form a team. You can participate solo if you want to. However, if you do want to form a team, this first week or so is really the time to do that. I'm already in contact with loads of people who are interested in teaming up, so do let me know if you're looking for teammates, and we can definitely work something out. I will be talking a bit more about this in a short moment. So we're going to move on, and we're going to now talk a bit more about the workshops. I will be going through all the workshops that are coming up a while later. These are just super, super important for you guys to get an introduction to all the sponsor tech, to learn more, and to really explore new areas and new things that you can do. And hackathons are all about learning, so please do make sure to attend the workshops, and ideally live, so that you can ask questions as well and get your answers straight away. And then obviously you need to start building your project. Ideally, you will be doing this as early as possible to ensure that it is well developed by the time the submission deadline rolls around. But everyone is different, and sometimes it takes a bit longer to get started than you think, but we highly, highly encourage you to start building as soon as possible. Throughout the hackathon, we will be offering one-on-one mentorship. So the sponsors will be ready for you in the Discord server, the Discord channel, and answering any technical questions that you need. And I will also be available to answer any more practical questions. So happy to hop on a call and do some project ideation or whatever it is that you need help with. We're here with you the whole way. And then finally, submission. During the submission, all these details are in the hack pack as well, but you'll basically need a public GitHub repo and a demo video, and those are the two most important things that you will need. I see now someone asked, how long will this meet last? So the launch event in itself lasts for 30 minutes, and then we are actually doing a workshop straight away after this, so make sure to stay tuned. And yes, the whole hackathon is 4 weeks long in total. I've already spoken about this a little bit, but our support will be in form of the workshops, some technical support, and then on the Discord community, I will have people ready to help out with any questions that you have, and then also some one-on-one support throughout the whole experience to make sure you can do as well as you possibly can. Now we are going to get into the really, really exciting stuff, the stuff that I'm sure you guys want to hear about the most. We're going to be discussing the bounties and the challenges for this hackathon. The first person we're going to hear from is Sasha from Etherlink, who will be introducing the Etherlink bounties. So as we're getting Sasha up to join the stage, we are just, I'm going to see now him joining. Hi, Sasha, how are you?
Good, thank you very much, Clara. How are you doing?
I'm all good, I'm good. I'm very excited. There's so many people in the chat. I'm getting distracted just seeing where everyone is from.
Yeah, it's awesome. Glad to see everyone. Hello, everyone.
Okay, feel ready to share a bit more about the Etherlink prizes.
Thank you very much, Clara. Yes, hello, everybody. My name is Sasha. I am the lead developer advocate for Etherlink. Etherlink is a project in the Tezos ecosystem. Etherlink is, in one sentence, I'll keep it short, is an L2, and it's one of the world's first truly decentralized L2s. So what we mean by that is we have a decentralized sequencer, we have very low fees, and we have MEV protection built in at the chain level. This opens up a lot of interesting use cases. You feel free to read about it on etherlink.com if you're interested in more, or of course in the Discord, like Clara has mentioned, we are there in the Etherlink zone, and I'm free there to answer any questions you'd like. So moving on to the bounties, we have best application for a novel use case on Etherlink. Now, Etherlink is a chain that is finally truly decentralized in terms of L2s, and we think this opens up a lot of opportunities for people to build when they need, high security, low latency, so very quick block times, and low fees. So finally, this is all available for you on one chain, which is Etherlink. So as we mentioned, we have the first, second, and third prizes there. Really, the sky is the limit. You can think of something really cool, something trendy, and I think there's more information in the Hacker Pack. Just something that isn't something basic, like we've had DEXs, we've had that season a few years ago and stuff like that. If you make a DEX with a really cool features in it, that's also counts, right? So really, the sky's the limit, but feel free to ask me and my team some questions if you're interested in that one. And of course, whether or not you apply in a novel use case or you're doing something similar, you can be and you will be considered for the other bounty, which is the best overall submission for Etherlink. So we're obviously just giving out first, second, and third prizes there to the top 1, 2, and 3 projects that we think deserve it on Etherlink. So really, we're looking for new, cool applications on Etherlink. And if you do a great job, you might win both, right? So how exciting is that? And finally, I think, Clara, there's one more slide that you are ready to show. I think the next one.
Yes.
Yeah, indeed, this is an exciting one. This is because we are in the Tezos ecosystem and Tezos sponsor Manchester United. We, for all UK-based hackers, are offering a prize to play a friendly match, all price included. So we will travel you out to Manchester United Stadium and play a friendly match on Old Trafford, on the pitch itself, as part of the bounties. So more information will come on that later. Appreciate Clara's patience here because it's taking a little time to get that sorted, but I'll have information. I'll probably post it in the Discord as well once I sort it out with you, Clara, as well. So thank you very much. If anyone has any questions, you can find me on Discord. You can also add me and DM me there in the Encode Club, and happy hacking. I'm looking forward to seeing everyone's applications.
Thank you so much, Sasha. Really, really excited about that prize as well. I know Yasin especially is very excited about that one. So
it is a cool one. Cool. It's a cool one.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, I will be sharing more info about that as well as we kind of get all the details. Thank you for joining us, Sasha, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Bye. Cool, amazing. Okay, now we are going to hear about even more amazing prizes from James from the IPC. So James will be joining the stage now, and he'll be sharing a bit more about this bounty. Hi, James. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I didn't know I was going to follow such a cool announcement. But honestly, commiserations if you have to spend time at Old Trafford. If you want to spend time with a real football team like West Ham, then let me know. So yeah, commiserations, obviously.
Oh, I see. I'm actually an Arsenal fan myself, so I'm just waiting for that prize.
I wonder why. Fantastic. Well, it's good to see everybody. I'm James from Protocol Labs. I'm going to talk very briefly about the IPC prize. For those of you who don't know who Protocol Labs are, we're an innovation network. We're about 600 different organizations that work together to solve common problems. We share knowledge and resources, and we accelerate R&D in frontier tech. We've built a number of technologies like IPFS and Filecoin and libp2p, which I'm sure many of you are familiar with and have worked on we've recently launched the IPC. And IPC is a new cutting edge protocol. We've been R&Ding for the last few years. It's a hyper-customizable scalability framework where you can do both horizontal and vertical scaling, and you do that through recursive subnets. It's currently rooted to Filecoin, but is designed also to be multi-chain. So in terms of the prizes that we've got up for grabs, we've got $5,000 for this hack. We are looking for the best use of a custom IPC subnet. So this is where you would deploy your custom subnet, and then you would utilize things like the general message passing or GMP that would perform specific tasks like sending a transaction. What can you build with IPC? Well, you can build custom subnets for gaming. So think board games or turn-based games. Think computation, so programming pipelines or straight computer over data jobs. You can build with interesting FVM runtimes. So that's the Filecoin virtual machine runtimes, or blockchain virtual machines. So things like MoveVM or CairoVM or others. Or you can even use broader virtualization tech like Docker or Firecracker VM. And there's bonus prizes here for advanced configuration of a subnet for things like custom syscalls and built-in actors that run very specialized tasks. So think things like machine learning. Once you're done hacking, build with us. We've run about 40 different accelerator cohorts to date and give out a lot in grant funding. So we've supported several hundred founders who've raised over $500 million and would love to keep you helping build out your project into a venture backable business. Happy hacking, and look forward to seeing you online. Good luck.
Awesome. Thank you so much, James. I think you did very well following up Sasha there. Yeah, for sure. And I know we did a hackathon with you guys, the Open Data Hack, not that long ago. And I know that there's some hackers who joined us then who will be joining again for this one. So I'm excited to see what's going to be built for this bounty for sure.
Me too. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Awesome. Okay, now there's just so many amazing prizes to go through. So we're gonna go straight into the next one. And we are inviting the Shardium team to join the stage, and they have 3 really cool prizes to introduce. So we're getting joined here by Greg. Hi, how are you?
Hey, Clara, I'm doing great, thanks. Not sure if Sandipan is here as well, but hello, everyone. My name is Greg Hemmer. I'm the head of ecosystem and fundraising at Shardium. Shardium is an auto-scaling EVM layer 1. So if you're familiar with the way Web2 systems and cloud services work, they have auto-scaling where you can the cloud will auto-scale the server count based on the application load. That is Shardium's innovation. It's an EVM layer 1 where the network every 60 seconds can detect the load of the network, and based on demand, auto-scale the active validator count to adapt the throughput capacity to the network load. So there's no fee market because the throughput capacity is always greater than the network load. This enables you to build new unique use cases where you don't have to worry about losing users due to rising gas fees, or worry about getting certain use cases priced out where the gas fee is greater than the value of the transaction itself. Shardium is founded by the CEO of the largest centralized exchange in India. We're really fast growing in countries like India and Nigeria, Vietnam, Philippines, where we help companies gain access to new users. We've already had 2 teams build on Shardium prior to our mainnet and generate over 6 figures in revenue. We're a project in testnet now that's launching in mainnet in June. So for any early business builders that are excited about launching companies, we'd love to work really closely with you to support your company, help you acquire thousands or millions of users and generate millions of dollars in revenue like we've done twice so far. We have, I believe, not sure about the total prize value here. I think maybe $10,000 in prizes. Is that correct, Clara?
Oh, I'm gonna have to do some quick maths now. I'm not that confident in my maths abilities, to be honest. I'm sure someone in the audience can calculate how much the sum of all of that is. 5K.
Oh, 5K. The 4X confused me there. Yeah, so there's $5,000 in prizes available. An open track prize. Please build what you're passionate about and interested in. I really think we need to see more real-world use cases of decentralization built in this industry, solutions to problems that millions or billions of people face worldwide. So thinking about problems that your mother or your grandmother, or, friends and family around the world may share, and build a decentralized app that could be useful to them would be interesting. DeFi is super exciting in Web3, so maybe some new meme coin trading innovations in the DeFi track. And we also have $750 for the NFT track, as well as $2,000 in honorary mentions for any cool products with a nice UI or some new novel features that we haven't seen before in Web3. Thanks so much. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ping us throughout the hackathon.
Thank you so much, Greg. Yeah, really, really nice open tracks, like open, very broad prizes, which is always really cool because people will be able to, like you said, really do what they're interested in and kind of be super creative with it. So I'm sure there will be some really cool projects for this one. I'll see you soon, and thank you once again.
Have a great day, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye. Awesome. Okay. And now that we have heard from the Shardium team, we're going to move on to Gateway FM. So we'll be joined by Ekaterina on the stage very soon. In the meantime, you can scan this QR code and you can kind of get an introduction to the Presto Oracle how-to. Hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
All good, all good.
Yeah.
Feel free to share a bit more about your bounties and say hi to everyone.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Ekaterina. I'm VP of DevRel in Gateway, and today I would like you to build an app that solve any real-world problem with Presto. What is Presto? Presto, it's a platform as a service that give you possibility to create your own zk vulnerable app just in 4 clicks. With all the infrastructure, we have more than 35 customizations, and it's very easy to create your own zk vulnerable app. It's based on the Polygon CDK. And we have prize pool $1,000 for multiple winners. And the main thing that you need to create zk vulnerable app via Presto and incorporate our Oracle to the app. Oracle provides you with currency conversion in real time, and I add links to the guide in Discord as well during my presentation workshop on the 28th of March. I will share more information. So we want you to create any app, so we don't want to limit in any specific area, but the main thing, it should use a rollup created via Presto.
Cool, awesome. Thank you so much. I'm really, again, excited to see what's going to come out here. And yeah, like I said before, everyone, please do scan the QR code and get get started already now. Start thinking about it before the workshop where you'll hear more. But yeah, thank you so much, Ekaterina, and I'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, thank you. If you have any question, you can ask in Discord. Yeah.
Awesome.
We'll be happy to answer them. Happy hacking, everyone.
Thank you so much. Thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Cool. And now we're moving on to the Orderly Network, who again have some really, really good bounties. So we're gonna invite them to the stage, and here we have Slava. Hi, how are you?
There you go. Hey, doing good. How are you?
I'm all good. I'm all good. Feel free to share a bit more about what you guys do and what you're excited to see in this hack.
Yeah, absolutely. So first, a quick intro about myself. My name is Slava. I'm from Orderly Network, leading developer relations here. And a quick kind of blob about Orderly Network and breaking it down is we are a perpetual futures trading infrastructure where we're chain agnostic, offering projects, kind of that tooling and backend to add or build a perpetual futures trading app. So we're just essentially abstracting all the backend work away of hunting for liquidity, figuring out the order book matching, risk engine, and everything else. We're taking over the workload and empowering the builders to just focus on the growth, focus on building the front end and catering to their own user base, and kind of at the same time solving for the liquidity fragmentation problem where we have a lot of different dApps built, right? And everyone has their own liquidity. And then also all the liquidity across the chains is spread out, where we're omni-chain. So all of the liquidity ultimately from all the front ends, from all the chains, routes to the same order book. So traders from chain A are going to be matched against traders on chain B. So that's a quick blob about Orderly. And what we're looking for really is for you to just show us some innovative use case of Orderly. And the total price pool is going to be 3,000 USDC across multiple winners. So the big one is going to be the wow factor, right? So go ahead and do some research on us, see what kind of projects are already built. We really, really want to see something new built out of Orderly Network and see where it can be put to use essentially.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, everyone do go ahead and check out the Orderly Network a bit more and start thinking about what you're going to build. Also, I see some people speaking in the chat now about teaming up and stuff. So do feel free to kind of share if you have any ideas or if you get a sudden surge of inspiration based on these bounties, do feel free to share them in the chat as well. But thank you so much, Slava. I'll see you very, very soon. And thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Kiara.
Thank you. Bye. Awesome. Okay. And that was all the amazing prizes and bounties that we have for this hackathon. Hope you're all feeling excited and inspired. And thank you for all of the sponsors for joining us and for presenting their prizes today. I'm going to now run through very, very quickly some commonly asked questions and some FAQs. So the first one is, are there any kind of eligibility requirements? Who can join? What kind of experience do I need? All that kind of thing. Anyone can take part, even if you're a beginner, you've never done a hackathon before, even if you've won 10 of them before, anyone can take part. So don't be shy, don't be scared. We're here to help you the whole way. So do get in touch if you have any concerns or if you need help with anything, but everyone is welcome. Can I enter an existing project? Yes, you can, as long as you have made some sort of significant feature improvement or implementation, and it has to be relevant to one of the bounties. But if you have a long-term existing project, then you can always enter with that and just add a feature to that. Most of the organization during this hackathon and the communication will take place on Discord. So do make sure to join our Discord server. I saw that Yasin posted it a while ago, but I'm sure he'd be happy to send the link once again in the chat. Once you do join our server, please navigate to channels and roles in the top left corner and select the Scaling Web3 Hackathon role so that you get all the kind of notifications and you get access to see the channel. On there, you'll also be able to see the different sponsor zones where you can ask technical questions and get help. You'll also have access to the team formation channel where you can kind of mingle a little bit with the other hackers and team up. Like Yasin has been sharing in the chat as well, the Hacker Pack is basically your go-to place for any resource that you need. It should have been sent to you in the onboarding email when you register already, but in case you've lost it, it's in the chat right now again. So do make sure to check that out. You don't need a team. You can participate solo, and there's no max capacity for a team. So you can kind of be very, very flexible with that. And depending on your preference, you can be on your own or team up. If you have any other questions that pop up right now at the moment, feel free to pop them in the chat and we'd be happy to answer them. Some key dates. So obviously right now we're doing the launch event, and in just a few minutes, we'll actually be kicking off straight away with our first workshop from the IPC, which is all about how to set up your first Interplanetary Consensus Subnet. So do make sure to stick around for that. It's going to be a really, really exciting one, and is only a minute or so away. This week and next week will be workshops. And in the meantime, I recommend that you do start thinking about what you want to build. If you don't know already, team up if you want to team up, and get going as soon as possible. The submission deadline is the 21st of April. It's on Sunday, and it will be midnight, your local time zone. And then on May 7th, on a Tuesday, is the finale and prize giving, where our finalists will be pitching. So make sure to join us on all these important dates. They are all in the Hacker Pack as well, in case you forget them. For this week, we have our workshop tomorrow with Shardium, which is actually our second workshop with Shardium. So the first one, that's called Intro to Shardium, is in the Hacker Pack already, so do make sure to watch that before tomorrow's workshop, if possible. Wednesday, we'll be hearing from the Orderly team about creating dApps using the Orderly SDK. And on Thursday, we'll be hearing from Gateway FM all about mastering smart contract deployment and migration using Presto. So some very exciting ones coming up this week. And then next week, we'll be hearing more about Etherlink. And that is on Wednesday, April the 3rd. Now, the next steps really quickly. First thing, join the Discord. Find teammates. You can do this partially on the Discord, but I've also included the QR to our team formation dashboard. Here you can see other people who have filled out a form to suggest that they are interested in teaming up. So you can contact people directly on here. The kind of name that would be listed on the top is the Discord handle, and you can see what they're interested in building for the hack, and you can contact them yourself and team up that way. Do let me know if you team up with anyone, just so that I kind of know what the different projects are and who is teaming up with who. Just makes it easier for everyone to keep track of things like that. If you still can't find anyone on your own to team up with, do let me know and I'd be happy to help out. Also participate in the workshops. Of course, that just makes just makes for a better experience in general. That's what it's all about, learning new things. And then finally, build your project. Any questions, please do DM me. You can send me a message on Twitter. You can send me a message on Discord, wherever is easiest for you, and email. So all that information on how to contact me is also in the Hacker Pack. Cool. Okay. Now, I am going to hand things over to Sarah from the IPC team, who will be kicking things off with our first workshop. And as she's joining the stage, I want to encourage you all to please pop all your questions that you have throughout the workshop in the questions tab, just so that they don't get lost in the chat. It is right next to the little chat box. You can see the questions with the question mark. Please do post your questions there, just so that we don't lose track of them. But I am inviting Sarah now to join the stage and enjoy the workshop, everyone. I see that she is getting ready. And in the meantime, I can actually answer a question that I just saw now in the questions tab, which was if there's a replay of workshops. And yes, there is. Everything will be recorded and posted in the Hacker Pack and on the Discord server the next day. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Hello. Hi, can you hear me okay?
We can hear you all good. I am going to stop sharing my screen if you want to start sharing yours. Oh, she disappeared. And now she's back.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool. Go ahead and share your screen whenever you're ready.
Okay. I'm going to assume this. Oh. Okay, 1 second. Hold on.
No worries. No worries. It happens. I saw that Michael asked whether the timeline of events will be published or pinned on a platform. The timeline of events is probably the easiest way to view that is in the Hacker Pack again, because everything will be in kind of not a timeline necessarily, but in order. So yeah, again, that is your go-to place. Okay, we can see your screen now, and everything looks very nice. So go ahead and get started whenever you're ready.
Okay, perfect. Thanks, Clara. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the first workshop to kick off Scaling Web3 with Encode. Super excited. We've done previous hackathons of Encode 2 through Filecoin. So Interplanetary Consensus, just for some context, is a project that really started within the Filecoin team. And I'll explain a little bit of context there. And now it is on its way to branch out to become its own team in complement to Filecoin and still supporting Filecoin very deeply, but then also being designed for multi-chain. So super excited if you've seen us around. All the goodies that you've been using with Filecoin, we now have IPC, which is a scalability framework and allows you to use those storage primitives within Filecoin in a much faster way and in a way that's more geared towards dApps and the kind of UX and the speed that we're used to. So super excited to show how you can set up your very first IPC subnet. It is still a product that's very much in development, but you will be able to use it within the hackathon, and we are always here for questions. Of course, beware of dragons as you use it. Things are being developed as we speak and as we go through this hackathon. So super exciting stuff. You're getting your hands on a piece of very new technology that will introduce, I think, a new way of doing scalability to the space today. Cool. So I'm going to give some context on. So for today's workshop, I'll talk a little bit about what IPC, how IPC came about, why it's around, what it can do, a high-level overview of how it works, and some examples of what you can build with it. And then we will dive into building your first IPC subnet. Cool. All right. Oh, and if you want to see all the updates that we have a lot of customer implementations coming in real soon. We just launched something last week, which was super exciting. You can follow IPC devs on Twitter for all the updates there. All right. So diving into it on how all this started. So if you've been following Filecoin, you would know about the Filecoin master plan. This came from our founder, Juan Benet, the plan was really super simple. Step one, build the largest decentralized storage network, and that is done today. We have about 3,000 storage providers with a ton of compute resources in hardware that they run. So the second step was to onboard and safeguard humanity's data. So we uploaded a bunch of data that is open to the public. Some of it is privatized as well. And we've been onboarding a ton of useful data onto Filecoin. And then the step 3 here was that, now we have a huge database the same way that is mirrored after what Web2 provides today. We will be able to bring compute to that data to enable web scale applications. So how we went about doing that, last year, my team, which was also the team that launched FVM, the Filecoin virtual machine, we launched that last year. So coming forward about, many years in the making, really, we finally launched FVM on Filecoin, which then provided on-chain programmability to the Filecoin network, which means that for the first time, you could actually use, and we've also made it fully EVM compatible. So for all the devs out there and the majority of users that use Solidity contracts, you could now use Solidity contracts to program storage primitives on Filecoin. So this led to implementation such as like programmable storage, rather than having to manually create a storage deal and get data uploaded with a storage provider. You could do that through a Solidity contract, and you could also stipulate how long you want the data to run, when you want, on what conditions you want the data to be renewed, and how you can drip funds into perpetually renewing that data so that your data is, in a way, perpetually stored. So there were a lot of new innovations that came around with the FVM. Of course, that also opened up the entire DeFi ecosystem for Filecoin. So we've had a lot of integrations to date, third-party integrations that make it much easier for dApps to bring together all that functionality that they used to, while moving it onto the Filecoin network, which provides a ton of storage. So to date, we've had a lot of traction. It's probably been about a year. Actually, we just celebrated our 1-year anniversary last week or so. Huge blog post that came out there. There's been a lot of momentum in that space and a lot of ongoing integrations that we continually add to Filecoin to make it even more useful. So look out for things like gaseous transactions and so on. These are all things that we're working on to continuously improve it. We've had about 800 projects from hackathons, accelerators, and so on building with FVM. We've also had really exciting integrations that you devs have asked for, and we've done our best to integrate it into Filecoin, including Exceler, Uniswap, SushiSwap, The Graph, Telor, some oracles there. So these are all things that you can use today with Filecoin, which is super exciting. And some smart storage capabilities that I mentioned earlier on, being able to have a programmatic storage deal and renewing that, and also being able to cater for not just large data, which previously that's what Filecoin traditionally supports, really large data that we store as storage providers. But with smart storage, it allows you to smaller pieces of data, which is, even down to the JSON level piece that you can store with Filecoin today and be able to trace where that is within the larger data sectors on Filecoin. So that's a whole other talk on its own. I can't get into that. But basically, the FVM has enabled a ton of stuff, right? And so that's where the question came in, where we started having developers that were trying to build solutions on Filecoin, and they were like, great, can access storage, but the Filecoin block time is about 30 seconds, well, 30 to 90 seconds, about 90 seconds, right? And so every transaction that you try to run within your dApp is going to take much longer than what we're used to if, let's say, you built on Polygon and so on. And so there were a lot of questions on how can we shorten block time to make it much more usable to build these dApps and harness the power of storage capabilities. And that's how IPC came about. That's what really necessitated a push for that. Of course, on top of faster block times and faster finality with third-party integrations, there were also questions of, what's the huge opportunity there in a scalability framework on Filecoin, allowing Filecoin to support more DPIN projects. And so DPIN is a really big, it's a huge space to tackle. For those of you who are new to it, it's about decentralized physical infrastructure. How do we provide huge compute capabilities? How do we tap on all these latent resources, which I mentioned earlier on? We have a lot of SPs that have all these compute resources with them that are just sitting there. How can we harness that power to enable bigger DPIN networks? And Filecoin today is already one huge existing DPIN network. How do we harness that capability in a much more user-friendly way so that people can develop solutions on top of it? And that's what necessitated the development of IPC. So fast forwarding to 2024, that's where we're at today. So we are in development on IPC, and IPC is designed to be multi-chain. It's also designed to be slightly different from other scalability frameworks out there, and I'll deep dive into some of the differences there. But the goal is really to be hyper-customizable so that people can build their custom subnets to operate networks that have specialized capabilities. So I'll give some examples. We recently launched with Fluence, which was a cloudless compute network. They had very specific needs for their subnet, and IPC was one that was able to allow them to even customize the system calls at a really low level within their stack to capabilities that they wanted, to build their own built-in actors using FVM as an execution layer. FVM itself also runs on WASM time. So again, very in sync with how the whole ecosystem is gearing towards WASM, Rust, things that allow any frameworks or any languages that people are used to be able to run on these execution layers. So that's how IPC came about. It also uniquely provides hierarchical consensus, and that concept is really, not just having an L2 on top of an L1, but having L2s that go on to L3s and L4s, and also the capability to not, on the L3s and L4s, you could spin those up, have them be ephemeral, so that, maybe it satisfies a point in time function that you want to run, but then you can easily shut it down again. So IPC does allow you to set up permissionless subnets. That's the path that we're developing towards. And so you can set these subnets up for different users and then shut it down as you need, which saves cost and makes your operations much faster. Not just vertical scaling, but it also enables horizontal scaling. So you could enable an entire dApp ecosystem to spread out across different subnets for different functions and have them all seamlessly communicate with each other, which is already available today. You can do a single hop GMP from an L1 to an L2 and across the different L2 subnets that you run under the same umbrella. So that allows you to run your entire dApp ecosystem pretty seamlessly. Of course, to get to that point, it's a bit of a longer route, and we're continuously improving the UX, and you'll see later in the tutorial that I'm going to show, but you can quickly spin up a subnet and run it across. It takes a few more steps for you to run your subnet and to customize it. There's also some advanced customization that I won't run through today in the workshop, but these are all available in our documentation, and that's what we're really hoping that you guys can experiment with during this hackathon. We've seen some really cool examples, and I'll jump more into it later. The also really important part about IPC, based on the ask that came from FVM, is to provide much faster block times. So IPC itself, when you run a subnet, based on the functions that you're putting in there, of course, you could run up to like 10 seconds or below 10 seconds block time, which is like a third of what Filecoin offers today. And so your app can run much faster while checkpointing the entire state back to the L1 on Filecoin so that it's finalized on the L1, and it also borrows the security of the L1. But within the app environment itself, it runs in a much faster way. Yeah, so some examples of customers that are going to be implementing IPC really soon, mostly within the storage space for now, but we're hoping to expand beyond that. We have Fluence, we have TableLand. If some of you have used TableLand, it's really good for database querying, SQL-esque kind of usage of data. And they're building on IPC today, and so is like other client data onboarding services like dStore and so on. So we have a lot of interesting implementations coming up. If you're going to build a custom subnet, we would love to see how you harness the storage capabilities of Filecoin. Dig deep into it, get hacky, look into the way that the built-in actors work on Filecoin, and whether you can provide some access to that through your IPC subnet by customizing, your subnet system calls and built-in actors. Yeah, so a lot of things that you can play around with. Okay, and then high level how IPC works. There's a really interesting talk that was done by the CTO for IPC, Rahul Kripalani. So if you want to see more, like really dig deep into the vision that we have for IPC on a much more extensive level, which I won't run into today, I'll run through the really simple way how you can set up a subnet and get that first checkpoint out. You can definitely watch this talk over here. Really interesting to see what the vision can be and what you can enable with FVM and IPC together. But here's a visual representation of what I was talking about earlier on. So IPC is meant to be built as it's meant to be multi-chain. So right now it's targeting Filecoin. Also with FVM being EVM compatible, you could technically deploy an IPC subnet onto an EVM chain too. Shout out to the team that did that in London. They actually deployed it to Base. That was really cool. And then we're also looking at supporting Bitcoin in the very near future. So with those running as the L1, we want to provide IPC to be optimized for you to build like a custom subnet on top of those different L1s. It could be like a gaming subnet. So let's say in the example of a game, right, you could have a gaming subnet that runs all your transactions and all your games, all the commands, the game itself. And then you can have a database subnet that runs parallel to it. So that's where, you know, all the, maybe the state of your game, the history of it, the logs, you can store it within the database subnet, and those two can communicate across with each other. So that's an example of horizontal scaling, right? And then so if you're coming down towards the vertical scaling piece, what you can add additional functionality on, and actually is a pretty common hackathon use case that we've seen come up from hackers, is to build an additional layer 3 below that, where you can have regional sharding of different subnets. So if, let's say, you're having GDPR compliance, privacy of data, you want to be able to shard it across different tag to a certain region, you could also do that within the subnet that you have. One limitation today, based on the current state of development that we're at, it's most stable going up to the L2. On the L3, it's a little bit more unstable. So we would suggest, for the hackathon's purposes, you could design it. To be much further down the scaling vertical ladder, but for this hackathon, I would really suggest that you stick to the L2 for now. But there's a lot of things that you can still do within the L2 today. Yeah, but that is the vision for how we anticipate IPC to run. Okay, so I'm just looking at the questions real quick for a second. Yeah, I know, we would love to see something building on Bitcoin too, right? We have one of our, I think our research lead is like super excited about Bitcoin. So we kind of want to see how that builds out in the coming months. And also L2s and Bitcoin is kind of growing right now. So we're hoping to get into that space and provide some innovation there. Yeah. Okay, so real quick, how does IPC compare? So we are aware, you know, in the scalability space today, there are like a ton of different solutions that you can use, right? And they're all awesome solutions. What does IPC provide differently or uniquely to that? I think the space that IPC is targeting to play in is really in the DeepIn space, how we can enable more DeepIn networks to grow. And so a lot of these custom subnets are going to be, I think, much bigger implementations rather than a one-off. But of course, as those implementations go over time and we generalize the template for IPC to run, it should get much easier for developers to use it quickly within their hackathons. So I'm going to run through some unique points of how IPC compares to other scalability solutions today. So we're looking at it as more of a scalability framework. So that's the first big differentiator here. It's not only meant to be a rollup or a sidechain, but because it is highly customizable, it could be designed to look like a rollup or a sidechain to fit your different needs. Again, spin it up, shut it down, run specialized network, it's up to you, but you could do that. It has customizable consensus, and it's also designed for multi-chain. The customizable consensus very much runs off the Tendermint model. So we do use Tendermint under the hood, but we're not using a vanilla version of it. We have adapted it and we've called it Tendermint instead. What it does differently is that it uses Tendermint core, but it allows you to be language agnostic. So it doesn't force you to use the Cosmos SDK, which is written in Go. So that allows you to implement any kind of language of SDK that you want that compiles to Rust. This is up to you. So there's a lot of things that you can play around in that space. We also use ABCI++, so not just ABCI, ABCI++ is what we use to ensure that you can always observe the transactions before your validators sign off on it. So we think that that's an extra layer of security, and we've implemented that too. Under the hood, we use IPLD storage. So this is different from almost any other scalability solution out there. You won't really see this at a developer level. This is much, much more under the hood, but it makes it much easier to do storage in a much more dynamic way. All your messages will be stored in the content ID format, which is something that if you've used IPFS, you'll be very familiar with. It just stores the hex of what the message contains. And so a lot of your metadata is just going to be stored very efficiently within the entire state that is checkpointed up to the L1, which makes checkpointing much more efficient, and so does storage, right? So you can always search, query a hash to see what the messages were. This is all because it's stored in an IPLD format. And lastly, it uses FEM as an execution layer, which I've mentioned earlier on. It uses Wasm time under the hood, so very customizable for application frameworks. One of the things that we're super excited about in FEM, and you'll see if you scan the link earlier in the talk, is that we are also excited about how FEM as Wasm could be meant for the web and for the browser. So over time, can IPC allow you to spin up a subnet as easily within a browser, rather than running it locally on your own, which makes it much more efficient to set up and shut down a chain. So that's something that we're looking to develop towards. But these are all the different components that IPC has already been designed for. Super easy to upgrade. All our upgradability is meant to be modular, and we're constantly upgrading our contracts as we go along. A few things that we have in development that are not available today. So as I mentioned, we're looking at allowing security to be configurable as well. So right now, security is very much borrowed from your L1. So if you trust your L1 on your Filecoin, your Bitcoin, your Ethereums, that's the security that you're going to borrow into your subnet. We want to provide more fields that you can adapt or customize for your security to run, fully customizable. Interoperability as well. So do you want it to be interoperable with multiple chains or just a single chain, or do you want to limit what users can do on your subnet? That's going to be up to you. So that's something that we're still building out for, and we'll release more tutorials over the coming months. Also to allow it to be truly permissionless setting up a subnet. As of today, I think it's still federated, where you have to, we allow certain addresses to spin up a subnet. You can always do this locally, but when you go out to the mainnet, it's not truly permissionless yet, and we're still looking to develop that. Yeah, and then lastly will be multi-chain, which is all the different chains that I mentioned earlier on. Also ephemeral subnets, spinning up and shutting down a subnet. You can shut down a subnet today, you can pause it. It's up to you once you set one up locally for the hackathon, but we want to make that much more efficient. We're also looking at things like partition tolerance to make it much easier to develop with, and not so clunky, and also to improve our upgradability, our modular upgradability of IPC. So these are a few things that we're working on. More details to come, but super exciting things to look forward to within IPC. So to give an example of, just looking at the questions. Integration, would you love to see an integration of IPC Filecoin into an existing MLOps platform? Built from, well, if you can integrate IPC into an MLOps platform that exists today, that would be awesome. We'll be curious to see what your use case is, but yes, you can as I mentioned, you can experiment with deploying IPC. It works really well on Filecoin and Ethereum today, but we'll be interested to see where you want to deploy on. Okay, all right, challenge accepted. Very cool. So I'm going to run through an example of IPC that is a real world use case that has been implemented as of today. Super exciting. You guys can also check this out. Although I don't think it's super usable within a hackathon, unless you want to go super deep into decentralized compute and provide a service on top of that. So this is an example of a DPIN network that we've built with IPC. It's Fluence.network if you want to check out the website. So Fluence has been working with us for about 3 to 4 months. Their goal was really to create a decentralized compute network that taps on the latent compute resources that are sitting on storage providers and so on, right? And how do you pull that together to fulfill a compute task? And having it fully decentralized, making sure that 80% less compute cost. There are just a lot of benefits of having this as compared to centralized providers today. So they've launched their mainnet just last week. It's fully functional. They required the use of IPC because they had some specific syscalls that they wanted to run within their subnet at a really low level. So that's how IPC has been building up with them over the past few months. They've achieved 10-second block times, which is awesome, runs really fast. And I think one of the other big things is that because of all the integrations that I mentioned that FVM has allowed Filecoin to bring onto the chain, because Fluence runs, technically, it's a mainnet, but it's technically an L2 that runs tech anchored onto Filecoin's L1 mainnet. All the capabilities within Filecoin's L1 mainnet can be called into their L2 subnet. So when because we have Axelar interchain token integrated within the Filecoin mainnet, that was really easy for Fluence to use within their L2 subnet mainnet, which allowed them to deploy their token within Ethereum, but then bring it in as native supply into their L2 subnet. So seamless token transfers with Axelar today, I would highly recommend you trying to use that within your hackathon project. That would be really cool to see. So that was super exciting. FVM is the execution layer, and we've also integrated with BlockScout for an easier explorer to view the subnet. Also, another idea, if anybody wants to build out like a subnet explorer tool, we'll be super interested to see something that's customized for IPC with all the different new fields that IPC provides. If you can have that within the subnet explorer, that would be really interesting to see. And if you can view multiple subnets at once that are all connected to each other and see how they interact, that would be an awesome, powerful tool to see. Yeah, so just some ideas out here, but yeah, you can definitely check this out as one of the implementations that we have. Cool, so I have been talking a bunch. Let me see, a question. Can I integrate IPC with a block dApp or entertainment dApp? Yeah, I think if you, I don't know the specifics, but if you have a dApp and you want to run an IPC subnet to maybe run certain functions of your dApp, you could do so today. Again, targeting Filecoin and Ethereum would be the best. So if, let's say, your dApp's on Polygon, you could attempt deploying an IPC subnet on there to run certain functions of your dApp. I think it might be a little bit more seamless if you try to deploy the dApp to calibration, Filecoin's calibration testnet, and then deploy your IPC subnet on top of that. That should run much more seamlessly. Totally up to you. You could do it either way. Yeah, but to answer your question, yeah. Okay, so we are going to jump into deploying a subnet. Right, if you scan this QR code, I'm going to run through the tutorial. Again, this will be recorded. I have done some of the prereqs here already, so to save you some time. But let me just talk through, and then when we get to the point where I'll open up my terminal and we'll see how we can run the IPC subnet from there. So if you go to docs.ipc.space, you can go to the quick start, which is deploy a subnet. So this will give you really comprehensive instructions on how to do so. We have prepared it for both Linux and for Mac. So I'm running a Mac, so I'm going to be running off the Mac instructions here. There are some prereqs that you would need. I think super easy stuff. You can just set this up within your terminal, not too many issues here. Just run through all of this. For Docker, it would be best if you're running a desktop version of it. So I'm running a desktop version of Docker right now in the background. And so I keep that open while I install all of this, and then I run my tutorial. Cool. So once you get there, you'll get to this step. And this step is the one that really takes quite a while. So it takes about, I'm running on a Mac desktop. It takes me about 15 minutes for this entire build to run. Depends on your computer. Some people have taken up to 30 minutes, but I would probably put it running and then go get a coffee and come back. So you run this whole repo, and I've already set this up. So I'm going to open up my terminal right now and kind of run you guys through this. All right. So I'm going to be following these instructions. Again, I've already set this build. I've already compiled this. So that took me about 15 minutes. I'm just going to run the cargo build release and start from there. Oh, no. Oh. 1 second. Okay, this happens to me sometimes. I have to like reinstall the prereqs, but hopefully that would. All right. Okay, we're going to run through the prereqs one more time just to make sure I have it all in there. And I'm hoping that it's not going to lead to too long a time to compile the build. But let's just give it a sec. Okay, so we're going to get the real full experience of running this tutorial. Okay, this should already be in there. Yeah. This should also be in there technically, but let's just run it. Okay, and Docker is running in the background, that's fine. So hopefully once we install these prereqs, I'm just going to check whether the build's already compiled beforehand, which it should be within this folder. As you can see, I've already run most of this through. So yeah, we're going to install all the prereqs and then we're going to run cargo build release and hopefully that works. If not, I'll see if I can pull out a version of it that runs, but I don't want to sit here and have you guys watch the full 15 minutes. We are building a wizard right now that makes it much easier to compile. Maybe a Docker image that has all this compiled to date, but that's a bit buggy right now, so I'm not going to show that. But it should get much easier with time to use. But for this hackathon, you guys have a few weeks, so it should be okay to run this manually for now. Yes, I am using a light theme. I get it. I don't want to get into this whole dark versus light debate, but I just like my VS Code to look pretty, so I thought this was like the prettiest color to have. Yeah.
It does look quite weird though. I didn't recognize it at first because of the light theme.
I know. I just wanted to get like a very different vibe going when I do it. You know how like some people on Twitch have these like really pretty setups?
Yeah.
This was the best I could do, so.
No, it looks nice. It looks nice. Don't let them get to you.
All right, cool. So we're almost done with this piece. Let me just see the next one. Yeah, Foundry should be in there too, although it's a little finicky for me. I always have to reinstall it. But no worries, that this one's pretty quick too. All right, cargo, come on. Yeah, so a few ideas for if you guys want to build with IPC, what we're looking out for. I know James just ran through the bounty, so we have a $5,000 prize for IPC. We're giving out 3 prizes, first, second, and third. We're looking for meaningful users of a subnet. Some really meaningful users that you can do are simple compute tasks running on a subnet, leveraging. There are a few different resources, and I'll give you the link. I think I must have put the link somewhere, or I'll pop into the chat later on. But yeah, there are a few different contracts that you can use that have already been set up on the Falcon calibration testnet. So you can see how you can leverage that to run a compute subnet for different tasks. Regional sharding, as I mentioned earlier on, will be something really interesting to see. Have seen some interesting projects, which I forget the name for, where they did regional sharding to do like governance. That was a really interesting use case. So I think these are a few things that you guys can consider. Of course, games as well. If you want to do a very fast turn-based game, we haven't seen a super seamless implementation of that, but we would love to see some people using IPC subnet for games and see how that runs for you. So yeah, it's just some ideas for you. Okay, cool. So we have cargo set up. I'm gonna get Foundry. Cool. This should be pretty fast. All right. Okay. Moment of truth. Let's see if this. Please. Does not look promising. Okay, that's fine. Let's see. I suspect it's not good to go. We might have to run through this. Sorry. Oh, right. Sorry. I was running this on the. Is that why? No, that's not why. Okay, that's fine. Yes. Ha ha ha. As we're not okay, we're gonna run through this. All right. So we're gonna do step by step. So making sure that the rest is good to go. We're gonna clone the repo, which technically should have been cloned. Yeah, I was pretty sure this was running already. Right? That's okay. So I'm doing it step by step. Also, this is just buggy on my end. When I run CD IPC contract, sometimes it doesn't pop up. I think it might be the way I named my folders. It's an IPC folder, it's within an IPC folder. So I'm running it step by step, but for you, it should be really easy to just copy and paste, and then you're good to go. Okay, warnings, 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 great. Okay, let's try this now. Great. Okay, so we have, as I mentioned, it was compiled earlier on. So I'm hoping that I didn't get a warning the previous time, although I do get it from time to time, and it is generally okay to continue with the build. So I'm going to take it that this is running, and I'm going to check my config toml file. The reason why you will probably need to check this file is, so this is an important point to note when you're doing the tutorial. We have automatically upgraded contracts within our repo. It doesn't get automatically populated into the config file when you clone the repo and run it. So for your gateway address and your registry address, please make sure to look at the tutorial and check this JSON batch over here to see if the address syncs up with what you have within your config.toml file. And if it doesn't, you will need to manually copy and paste it. Again, as I mentioned, we're building a wizard to make this much easier. But for now, the manual steps will require you to make sure that your addresses are correct. If not, you will not be able to set up your subnet. So I'm going to go ahead and copy this. It will take you to the file that has the latest addresses over here. So if you look at my gateway address, it ends with FE3, whereas the one over here ends with EAF. So that's different, right? So what you're going to do is you're just going to copy this, and you're going to hit in here and edit it. Be prepared for more manual editing to come. Again, looking to largely improve this. If anybody wants to work on we also have an open source project right now on the repo that has a wizard that is in progress. We are not opposed to awarding an award, a bounty to anyone that wants to continue building that out and getting to it faster than we can. And I'll drop the link in the chat in a bit. But yes, anyway, so you update your addresses over here. Just looking at questions. Okay, yeah. So you update your addresses over here, and then once that's done, you can exit it and make sure you save it. Cool. So our config file is good to go. And we're going to come back to the tutorial, and we're going to set up our wallet. So because this runs off Comet BFT, again, for security reasons, we recommend you setting up a minimum of 4 wallets. But for this tutorial, to make it faster, I'm just going to set up 1 and set up my subnet to only require 1 validator to exist, where ideally you will have 4 and above. So do take note of that. This is just for demonstration purposes. So we're going to run a wallet. Okay, and we're going to take note. So what you want to have while you do this, right now things are a little bit more on the manual side. And we're going to copy and paste the wallet address in here because we're going to need it later on. Paste it? Yes. Okay. So just do wallet address. So I'm going to paste this here. Okay. And then we're going to move on. So next step, this is optional for you, especially if you're creating 3, 4, 4, 5 multiple wallets. You want to set one as the default that you're going to take funds from. And because you're going to have to fund it from the calibration faucet, which is on the L1, which is the Filecoin calibration testnet, you're going to fund it from that faucet and then run your L2 with those funds. So this is an optional step. So I'm not going to do this because I only have 1 wallet. But if you have, again, if you have 4 to 5 multiple wallets and you want to set one as your default, run this step to set it as your default. So right now we have the wallet address. So we're going to go to the calibration faucet over here, and we're going to get some funds. This, again, it's about 90 seconds on Filecoin for block time. So it's going to take you about 90 seconds for this to pop up. So once you send the funds, you'll get a hash. If you have been using Filecoin before, super easy. You can go to any one of our explorers that exist today and monitor the transaction to make sure that it's good to go before you run your next step. So you want to make sure that you're on the calibration version of the Explorer, and you just want to pop in your hash over here so that you can observe whether it's pending, and in about 60 seconds more, it should become okay. It should say okay, and you have your funds within your wallet address. So yep, you're going to do that. We have heard some incidents of people hitting faucet rate limits. This happens from time to time. Don't panic if it happens. Wait a few minutes, refresh the page, and come back, and it should be fine. If you continue facing an issue more than like after 10 minutes or so, which shouldn't be the case, you can always head into the Filecoin Slack, and we have, let me just key it in here, Philnet calibration discuss. There's a channel here that will bring you straight to the testnet operator, and they can make sure that that's resolved for you. Or you can ask within the Encode Q&A channels, and we will come in as mentors and help you get that fixed. Yeah. Okay, so this should be good to go for now. Yep, as you can see, it has sent 100 T-fill into my wallet. So that's set up now. And we're going to go on to create a subnet. So as we create a subnet, you want to copy this because you're going to have to edit quite a bit of it. You're going to hit into the text editor. And what you want to do over here, I'm only creating one wallet this time. So I'm going to set this to 1, such that I don't have to set up 4 wallets to be able to get a subnet up and running. This is up to you to change. You can set it as 300, that's the default. This refers to how often you would checkpoint the entire state of your L2 subnet onto the L1 Filecoin. So that's up to you to run, right? 300 is a pretty good amount to set. And what you want to do is to copy the address from here and paste it in here. Permission mode, there are a few different options. If you play around with the IPC CLI and you do --help, you'll see there are a few different modes for permission. There's collateral, which is you require collateral to join as a validator. There is static, which means that there's a set number of federated addresses that can join as a validator and nobody else can join. And then I think the last one is, I don't remember what the last one is, but there's just one more. But for your usage of the hackathon, I would recommend you stick to collateral. That's like the easiest to play around with. Supply source kind, you can keep it as native. I would assume that you have your own ERC20 token supply within your subnet. So you just want to leave it as that. Cool. So we have this, and then we're going to run this command within the terminal. And this should generate your subnet ID. I'll just give it a few seconds more. And then once you get your subnet ID, that is the ID that you then copy and paste within your text editor again, because we'll be using it in a second. Yeah, end to end, the entire tutorial should take you no longer than 30 to 40 minutes, because especially of the compile period based on what specs you're operating on. But it should take you about 40 minutes, I would say. It's about the time to set up a subnet up and running. And then once you have your subnet running, that's when you can do the advanced customization. And I'll take you through some of the docs later on just to give you a sneak peek. I could do that right now since it's loading. So just popping out for a minute while the subnet gets created, while the chain ID gets created. There are a few options here. If you go under development guides and you want to try out performing transactions in a subnet, this would be related to general message passing that is available in the subnet today. You can check out this tutorial. Once you've created your subnet too, if you want to implement your own custom syscalls and a custom built-in actor to enable different functionalities within a subnet that are not possible with the default template, here's an advanced tutorial that you can run through. Doable, really doable. Even for people that are a little bit new to this, you can follow the steps and you can have a syscall running. But I think the other thing to figure out is how you can access those syscalls easily from a Solidity actor. We don't have a tutorial for that yet today, but it is possible. You can always ask questions in the Q&A if you get stuck, but it is possible for you to do so. Yeah. Okay, let's go back to the terminal and see if that's up and running. Awesome. Okay, so we now have our subnet ID here. So again, gonna go back to we're gonna need this. So I'm just gonna put subnet ID, and we're gonna paste this here. And then what you're gonna do next right, is you're going to join the subnet. We are going to make sure that we have our public key exported. So I know, bear with me. The wizard is coming. This will make it so much easier. But for now, following these steps would be sufficient for you to set up your subnet. So we're going to go here and we're going to export this and we'll get our public key. You'll also want to copy and paste your public key. Do not get confused. There is a space between your address, your wallet address, and the public key over here. I have made that mistake before. Do not be me. And yeah, just note down your pub key here. And after which we can join the subnet with our validator. So we only have one, so we're just going to copy just one over here. Oh, no. Right, you want to copy and paste in the text editor first because it's going to be a pain to edit it here. Right, so again, we're going to put down the address and you're going to repeat these steps the same way that you do for the first one for your other 3 to 4 validators that you want to create. So, yep. Okay, and we're going to put in the subnet ID, which is over here. You can leave collateral as it is, and then the public key is what you just exported earlier on. So you're going to paste this over here. And yeah, it's up to you to play around with like the collateral or the balance. That's up to you, but do keep the minimum amounts in there just to make it easier. Okay, so we're going to join the subnet here that is running right now. See if there's any questions.
I did see that there are some questions in the question tab. So Getson asked, when deploying the IPC protocol within a multi-chain environment, what are the key considerations and best practices to ensure smooth integration, optimal performance, and secure cross-chain transactions across diverse blockchain networks?
Oh, is that on the chat or is that?
It's in the questions tab. So right to the left.
Oh, okay, I see it. All right, okay, I was looking at the chat. Let me see. All right. Multi-chain environment, key considerations. So if you're deploying within an EVM chain, I wouldn't say there are any key considerations for you to take note of. This tutorial should pretty much run the same way that you do it over here. You would probably have to what are some learnings that we had from deploying with Base? No, nothing that really sticks out. It should be pretty okay to run it within an EVM chain. Other chains outside of EVM and Filecoin, we haven't had much experimentation with that yet. Super open to people to try it out. Again, this is something that's in development. So if you are trying it within a chain outside of EVM compatible chains or Filecoin and you hit an error, do feel free to ask those questions. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. There's nothing much to look out for per se. We have also hit some errors. Some people, when they deploy their subnet, they do face like a chain ID 0, especially if they're trying it on the EVM compatible chains. I think that's one common error that we face. Super easy fix, making sure that your Docker containers are reset and nothing else is really running. So you might want to just shut them down and then set them up again. Or another thing to try is to make sure that your ports are set up correctly or try a different port. So those are the two main errors that we face with people trying to deploy them on EVM chains. But other than that, we haven't really faced too many issues. Yeah. Secure cross-chain transactions across. Yeah, I think again, within the EVM Filecoin space, using XLR is a really good way to make sure that your transactions are secure, especially if you're doing token bridging and so on. So that should be pretty fine to use. GMP itself we have an IPC specific version of it to use. I would recommend just following the tutorial, but other than that, you should be good to go. Yeah. let me see the chat too. I remember seeing a few questions. Do you need to have multiple validators? I would suggest you run 4 and above, a minimum of 4 validators. Again, this is Comet BFT, so if you're running 1 to 2 validators, you make yourself really vulnerable to attacks. Minimum is 4. I would really recommend that. You could run it with 1 to 2. Again, this is within a test environment, so no real world risk over here, but recommendation is to have 4. Examples of custom syscalls. Okay, so you could implement maybe an ML workload, maybe some ML focused GPUs as syscalls, and then have some ML tasks that you want to run on top of that with a built-in actor that you create yourself with Solidity. So these are some examples of syscalls and built-in actors that you can run. We've seen that as a pretty common use case, yeah. I'm unable to follow some of the steps. Okay, so just taking a step back, a subnet is it's an additional layer on top of an L1. So it's like you creating your own custom chain, right? So that's essentially what a subnet is. How it works. So when you set up the subnet, you would set up your own consensus. When you deploy using the tutorial, it gives you a default consensus. There's not too much that you can play around with consensus for now. You can set your block times differently. You can set your number of validators to sign off, minimum number of validators to sign off on the transaction. That's for you to set as well. So these are a few factors that you can tweak for now, on top of the more advanced syscall customizations that you want to do. But these are the few things that you can tweak as of today within an IPC subnet. There are more to come in the future, but for now, that's what you can play around with, which should give you plenty to do within the hackathon because, and also I think uniquely, rather than using, let's say, things like Arbitrum, Orbit, and so on, setting up a separate subnet, what you can do in an IPC subnet is you can call functionalities within the Filecoin network. So if the Filecoin network has certain functions that you want to capitalize on in your IPC subnet, you can be able to call that from contract to contract. So there are some docs on GMP, general message passing, but generally if you have a Solidity contract sitting on your IPC subnet and there's a Solidity contract that you can call on the Filecoin subnet, Filecoin network that has that, I think one of them is for example, wanting to store a file, that will allow you to do that easy general message passing. But there are some setups that you have to do within your contracts to make them IPC aware so that they can communicate with each other. So all in all, that's kind of what a subnet does and what you can do uniquely with IPC. As to you not being able to follow the steps, I'll finish this tutorial and then in the Q&A segment or as you try out the tutorial end to end, maybe you're stuck at the prereqs. There are some easy fixes for that, but we can take your questions in the Q&A and troubleshoot it from there. But generally, this tutorial should bring you through to create a subnet on your own. Yeah. Okay, so keep the questions coming. I'm going to move on to the next step. So as you can see, we've already joined the validator. Pretty exciting. We joined it at this epoch. So that's set up. So the next thing we need to do is to deploy the infrastructure. We have our private keys ready in our validators. So we're going to set up a validator node and then get your subnet running, and you'll see, if all goes well, cross my fingers, you'll see an IPC subnet set up by the end of this tutorial. So we're almost there. So taking on the next step, we're going to, again, with the single validator address that I'm running, going to pop this in here, and we're going to set it up as validator 1. So you go here and simply follow these steps. So that's good to go. And then here comes the big one, which is making sure that now that we have our first validator running, we're going to bootstrap that and have our we're going to have the Docker image running that's going to set up your entire subnet. So this is the probably last step before we get the subnet up and running. So we're going to edit this in the text editor once more. So I'm going to run through a little bit of this, what you need to take note of. I want to make sure that it's in space here. So we're going to call this validator 1. You're going to make sure that you have your private key path set up. So that should be in here. Make sure that you have your full path. If you just put a tilde, sometimes it doesn't really work. If you just like tilde.ipc, it might not fully work. So I would suggest really you get the full path up and in there. So I'm going to have this here. We're going to copy our subnet ID from earlier on. And yeah, pretty much that should be it. Yep, so these are already auto-populated for you. By the way, these did not used to be auto-populated. These used to be copy and pasting the addresses again, but we made it much easier to just pull from the JSON batch that we have. So yeah. All right, so we're gonna have these two in and gonna deploy from here. It should take us about, say about 30 seconds or so. And just looking at the questions too. How would you scale this solution within the cloud? What do you mean by scale this solution? Can you provide, Musi, could you provide some info? Okay, while Musi is typing, we have our subnet node ready. So this is your IPC subnet up and running. Like once you've hit this message, you know that you have a subnet up and fully running. You can take note of all the details of your subnet, your ID, your API. These are things that you can populate into MetaMask. If you want to add it as a network manually, you have to manually add it as a network. And then from there on, you can start building on top of this subnet. So yeah, with what I mentioned earlier on, what you want to have is to have a custom subnet up and running and then building your project on top of that. Once you have all these details, it should be fine for you to, like, if you're closing off for the day, you're closing down your terminal, this subnet will still exist out there in the ether. It should be, you know, you can easily find it within, yeah, you can easily set it up again or not set it up again. You can easily find your subnet within the Filecoin Explorer. But that should be pretty easy to move on from here. Yep. So yeah, that's pretty much your IPC subnet tutorial. And yeah, let me get back to my presentation real quick. And in the again, if anybody wants to follow the tutorial, this is the link for it. I'm just looking at the questions. Okay, enterprise application using these solutions. I would say hardware requirements shouldn't be too heavy. Again, you are setting up a subnet that then allows you to pull different resources together. So you as a subnet operator would not, there's no significant hardware requirements that you would need. Like Linux, Mac OS is good enough for you to run a subnet on its own. There are some guides. There are guides for it to take it to production readiness, although we don't expect that to happen within a hackathon, but I mean, awesome if you do. Let me just drop the link to all the resources. Hold on. Yeah, so if you head over to this link, we not only have the docs, but we have the repo within it too. Right now I'm working on a cheat sheet because not all the resources are within the docs right now. I should be able to share that within this week to the Encode channel, so do look out for that. So things like how you would continue to bring your IPC subnet to a production-ready level for enterprise solutions. We'll give you some guides for that as a subnet operator. But to your question on hardware requirements, we haven't seen any significant need for like heavy hardware resources being ready. Yeah. How long does the subnet run for? It runs eternally until you shut it down. In the docs as well, there are some steps if you want to learn how to shut down your subnet or to pause it. But it will just keep running until you do so. Yeah. Okay, so let me get into some examples for what you can do. Almost done. So what you can use in IPC for this hackathon. So this is based on what is available today. Again, IPC is something that's in development. There are a few things that you can do right now. single hop GMP. So as I mentioned, there is a link for a GMP workshop. I think I put it within the link tree. If I haven't, I'll update it. But that gets into exactly how you could deploy an instance of GMP. Right now, you can, again, as I mentioned, only do it from an L1 to an L2. You can't do it if you create an L3 subnet, which is not super stable at this point in time. So I highly suggest you keep doing L2 for now and try to play around with the syscall customizations to then develop a more meaningful use of a subnet according to the bounties. But you can do single hop GMP for now. You can do federated validation. So once you've set up your subnet and once you've set up your few validators, those will be addresses that you know. If you have it, for now it's delegated. So if you have certain addresses that you want to join, that you want joining the subnet as a validator, you will have to state those addresses down. Within your subnet setup. So you can't just permissionlessly join as a validator as of today, although that will change in the coming months. Yeah, subnet customization, I've mentioned this multiple times. There's some basic configuration that you can do, nothing too like groundbreaking there. It's minimum number of validators, your chain ID, how often you want to checkpoint your state back to the L1, but that's not going to make too much of a difference to your project. I would say the piece that really makes a difference is when you get into the custom syscalls and built-in actors. I gave some examples of how you could implement like an ML workload with like certain GPUs that you input as custom syscalls within your subnet. We should have a tutorial for that. We don't have a tutorial for that today, but there is a tutorial for how you can set up a pretty vanilla custom syscall and you can play around with it. If we can share the deck, then no problem. And then lastly, compute network. So I did mention there are some options that you can use today that exist on the Filecoin L1 and also operate as a separate L2 network. So Fluence operates as a separate L2 network. You could use that today if you want to call to that network from your IPC subnet and then call some functionality in. But I see Fluence as something that's much more useful for like enterprise solutions, especially for people that want to build production-ready compute coordination using Fluence's network. So for a hackathon, it might be too large of a scale for you to get into, but definitely feel free to play around with it. Co-op Hive is a much easier smart contract piece that is already available on the Filecoin L1. So that allows you to do compute coordination, and they have certain integrations to existing compute networks. I don't think it's Fluence today. I think it's Bacalhau, but it allows you to tap on compute resources and to pull and to coordinate across available compute providers to then complete a certain task. But those contracts are already available today. You can call them using GMP from your IPC custom subnet onto the Filecoin network to access these contracts. And you can do that by looking at the docs that I provided. And we also have some cheat sheets coming, which should give you much more of these resources in a list, which is not available today, but I will get it ready within this week and put it into the chat. So that should make it much easier for you guys. Yeah, and then just to reiterate, we are looking for the best use of IPC subnets. Setting up a custom subnet is really the first step you need to do. So get that up and running, and we'll be interested to see what kind of use cases you guys come up with. Again, this is a technology that's in development. If you run into bugs, we're here to fix it as mentors. The other thing to look out for is maybe after coding for about 3 to 4 weeks, if you think that IPC is something that will be super useful for the project that you want to ship and run as a sustainable service, for example, we have an early builders program that is going to run for about 4 to 6 months as we get into the heat of development for IPC, because we are looking to launch like fully GA by around the end of this year. So that program will bring you through like collaborating with our engineering team directly, getting updates, helping to test certain new features, us working with you to build out your project to a point where it's what you need, especially because this is such a new piece of tech. So get your feet wet during this hackathon, try out some really cool hackathon submissions. We'll also be looking out for really cool projects and inviting those people to the early builders program. But if you are also interested to join and you want to commit for about 4 to 6 months, it's a program that should be available. It's available in the link tree, so applications are open until the end of March, first week April. So have a look at it and see if you guys want to join. But in the meantime, we're here to answer any questions that you have as you build this up for the next few weeks. And yeah, all the best with building of IPC. Okay, and I'm just going to look at the questions real quick here. How many
Yes.
megabytes process take in terms of storage? Ooh. Exact number of megabytes, I'm not really sure right now. For me, it runs about less than a GB for sure. Let me just get you the answer real quick.
And in the meantime, I can just say that for those of you guys who maybe struggle to follow along this time, this recording will be uploaded tomorrow. Usually it's uploaded within 24 hours, so you can kind of rewatch and kind of catch up that way. And for Mubarak, you can submit as many projects as you want. Obviously, like if you're able to do more than one in the short amount of time that you have, then that's very impressive. But yeah, really the sky's the limit. So however many you have time for. And one project can go for more than one bounty as well. Yes, that's a very good way to kind of increase your chances of doing well, is to try and integrate more of the different sponsored techs and go for more of the bounties for sure.
Okay, yeah. So what Clara said +1, and I went through the file. It takes about 2 GB on my disk space, which is pretty large to be honest. But yeah, it should run about that size. And yes, it can run a Docker. So a lot of what I use within the tutorial today is based off a Docker image. If you want to set it up such that the entire thing runs on Docker, you can do so. We did have some teams that wanted to use Kubernetes to manage various Docker instances of IPC and managed to do so. So yeah, that's something that you can look into. Cool. So yeah, that's mostly it. I hope I've answered. Is it different from Tachyon Falcon Launcher? It is different. So the Early Builders program is more for, think of it as a pre-accelerator, more technical focused program. It's definitely going to be much more focused on the engineering side of things rather than how you build out a business. But towards the end of those 4 to 6 months, as your project and MVPs shape out even more, we will be providing resources and bringing in some of these accelerator partners to look at the cohort as a whole and see if they want to bring them on to develop even further. So there are some opportunities for that. And we'll be giving some guides to I think the goal is to gear these teams, if they're interested to do so, to becoming teams, projects, like sustainable projects on their own. If they're building tooling, then if it's open source tooling, of course, we're happy to have them around still. But we're looking for people that are really technically strong, that want to test and build while IPC is in development. Yeah, and you will definitely get an invite email after the hackathon for this. But again, the link is available on the link tree today, so you can apply. We don't have a link for the Docker. Because every single instance of a subnet is created locally, so there's no like one Docker that we can refer you to. There's no, again, this is a framework. This is not a subnet that runs as a whole that everyone can pitch into. We have some dev nets, but that's like reset every week or so. So I would not advise it for a hackathon because you might lose your project. I strongly recommend that you will have to set up your own local subnet in this instance. Yeah. Great.
Cool.
I hope I've answered the questions. Thanks so much for everyone like tuning in. I know it's been a while, longer than I expected, but I hope I took everyone through fully for the subnet.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sarah. Sorry for keeping you a bit longer. And yeah, for everyone in the audience, if you have any more questions popping up, feel free to pop them in the Discord zone, the IPC zone. You can tag the IPC team and they'll see it and be able to help. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining, especially everyone who came throughout the whole launch event and stayed the whole time. Hope to see you guys soon in the upcoming workshops as well. And thank you again, Sarah, and have a good rest of your morning, day, evening, wherever you are. See you soon. Bye, everyone.